Good morning, everyone. Are you ready for more astronomy? Yeah, let's do it then. I am proudly from New Zealand, and in 2017, I travelled halfway around the world for an event that just lasted 2 minutes and 40 seconds. A lot of people thought I was mad, I was crazy. Others just knew I was. And you think I would have sort of learnt my lesson, but 2 years later I went and did it again in Chile in 2019. 2 minutes, 21 seconds. I still haven't learnt. Then we did it in Albuquerque in October 2023. Mexico 2024. Still haven't learnt. So what is it that drives people and plenty of other people to go and see these such short period events? What is it? And it's these things: total solar eclipses, where the moon essentially fully blocks out the sun and everything daylight just turns to night automatically. And that's why today's talk is titled Total Solar Eclipses: Why These Surreal Experiences Should Be on Your Bucket List. Who here has, having had it go through the States a couple of times recently, who's been to a total solar eclipse experience? Yeah, so you know all about it. And many people haven't? Yeah, one, too few people haven't been? Yeah, well, I'm going to convince you guys you've got to pack your bags and get to one. So there's 4 good reasons for the interest and why you've got to get along to one of these things. First of all, they're very rare. They don't happen that often. We're going to address all of these factors. They're very brief, as you saw, just usually last a few minutes. Each one is very unique in its nature, and it's just a unique celestial event. And we'll explore too, a lot of scientific significance to them. Scientists learn a lot, and there are a lot of scientific interest. So these are frequently asked questions that keep coming up time and time again. So I thought it was a good place to start, and we'll address these. What are solar eclipses, and do they come in different types? How often do they occur, and where? How long do they last for? Are there factors that make one longer or shorter than the other? What does one experience during an event? We've got a nice video clip that captures that beautifully. And we're going to look at some historic solar eclipses and some of the discoveries that they've made in the field of science. Okay, so what is total solar eclipse? It's when the moon, as I mentioned, completely covers out and blocks the whole of the sun. Why does that occur? It just so happens that the sun's apparent size in the sky, we'll call it angular size, apparent size, matches exactly with the apparent size of the moon in the sky. The reason behind that is that the sun is, diameter-wise, is 400 times the size of the moon, but it also just happens that the distance from the Earth to the sun is 400 times the distance from the Earth to the moon. Hence, they're both at the same time. This is not some crazy, what's going on here? No, it just happens to be. And there's just a window of opportunity that we've got this. As I mentioned in yesterday's talk, the moon is receding away from the Earth at 3.8 centimetres per year. They've measured it exactly. And I won't delve into it, but it's just a general law of physics, conservation of angular momentum, and so on. So there's nothing mysterious about that. So we've got this situation where the moon is moving further away. So yeah, albeit slowly, it's getting smaller in the sky, and will come a time where we won't be able to experience such total solar eclipses. So we're in a window, it's about 1 billion years. We've got about another 620 million years to go. Keith Richards will still be going strong on guitar on stage, I'm sure. So why and how often do they occur? Well, there's 3 requirements of planetary motion. The first is you've got to have a new moon. So that's where you get your sun and your moon and your earth all lined up, just like you see here. So you think, well, we get a new moon once a month, do we? Why don't we get a solar eclipse once a month? There's a bit more to the story. When the moon orbits the earth, it just doesn't do it in a simple plane. The plane of the moon's orbit around the earth is tilted at 5 degrees. So from our perspective, when we get a new moon, if that's the sun, the moon might appear anywhere from up here, 5 degrees up, and then quietly move through each cycle, back down to 5 degrees the other way. So because of that, we only would see a total solar eclipse every 6 months, if it was due to that. So it's cut it down from once a month to once every 6 months. And the third factor is that when the moon orbits the earth, it doesn't do it just in a straight circular fashion. It does it in an oval, elongated, we'll call it an elliptical orbit like that one. So it goes further out and then it comes around. So from there, we know that the moon, that's why the moon changes its size or its apparent size in the sky. So when the moon is here, they just happen to call this perigee. The moon's larger in its sky because it's closest to us, and as it goes through the oval orbit, it gets further away. That's just called apogee, it's just the term for it. And the moon obviously looks smaller. So an eclipse can only happen when the moon is big enough, when it's at its closest to Earth. So you need all those 3 factors all coming together at the same time. You need a new moon, you've got to have a perfect alignment with the moon in its 5-degree plane, and you need the moon size needs to be big, so when it's closest to the Earth. There's 4 different types of solar eclipses as such. There's the total eclipse that I've been alluded to. That's when you get a total blockage, all 3 conditions met, and they make up about 25% of solar eclipses. So you can even see solar eclipses aren't common, they're rare, and then of course you've got to get all those 3 factors to get a total. So a total solar eclipse really is quite special. We're going to go through each of these, I'm going to explain them, but 35% are what we call a partial, an annular solar eclipse, which we'll talk about, 35%, and then there's a hybrid form of eclipse, just makes up about 5%. So let's work our way through these. So there's the 3 conditions that we've talked about, and that's to make a total solar eclipse. You can see the moon here, the moon blotting out the sun. This is called the corona, and that's the sun's atmosphere, if you will, just charged particles heading on out from the sun to make up the solar wind. They can extend way out here up to 2 diameters of the sun, that solar wind, that sun's atmosphere. And these crimson little areas here are called prominences, and that's hot plasma, charged particles, just leaping up off the surface of the sun and crashing back down again under magnetic fields, and they're called prominences. So that's what you actually see with a solar eclipse, which we're going to have a closer look at shortly. Then you get partial solar eclipses, and it can arise from one of 2 scenarios. One is the alignment's not quite there. It's a new moon, the moon is close enough, but the alignment is not quite right. So you get a misalignment and there's no total eclipse anywhere, but you just quietly see a chunk move out of the sun. So you see that from time to time. Or there's a total solar eclipse going on, and they call it a path of totality, which I'll show you a diagram shortly. You know, the path across the Earth where people are witnessing, experience a total solar eclipse. So if you're off to the side, out to the sides of that path of totality, that's what you'll see as well. You'll get a partial solar eclipse. So someone a few kilometers down the road is experiencing a total eclipse, you're just getting a partial because you're just a little bit off to the side. Then there's the annular solar eclipse that make up 35%, also known as the Ring of Fire, and that's the one in October 23 in New Mexico. So this is where the moon Yeah, everything else, the alignment's fine, you've got a new moon, but the moon is at its furthest away, or apogee in its orbit, so away from the Earth. So it's just not quite big enough in the sky. So you get this beautiful ring of fire, and that's pretty spectacular in its own right, but not as special as the total solar eclipse, but it is still pretty cool. So if you've seen a total, make it your business to see an annular one as well. Don't leave Earth until you've done it. Yeah, hybrid. So this is interesting. So this is where you get everything's all in line and everything here. And the total eclipse is occurring at the equator, that's here, but at higher latitudes, suddenly you can see that because of the curvature of the Earth, you're just a little bit further away, and the size of the moon is going to be a bit smaller. So they get an annular or a partial. So that is what they call a hybrid. So different people in different Earth experiences the eclipse. There it is there. So people here at the equator, experiences here, and people at higher latitudes get the annular, the ring of fire. And of course, people either side get the partial. So that's called a hybrid. They're just 5%, so not that common at all. So yeah, how often do they occur? There's a few things, but in short, on average, somewhere on the Earth, one will occur about every 18 months. But of course, some of them are in remote places or they're out at sea. And it was pretty cool how the US got a beautiful one right across in 2017 and then another one in 2024. That was pretty cool. So every 18 months, somewhere on Earth will get a solar eclipse. Now, if you wanted to say in one given spot, no, I'm staying here, thank you very much. The universe can come to me, I'm important. You're going to have to wait on average about 375 years for any particular spot. But of course, as I mentioned, the path across 7 years, that was very cool. So some places in the US, in the space of 7 years, saw 2 total solar eclipses in their backyard. Very cool. Other places on Earth haven't seen one for 2,000 years before the next one. There you go. That was the one in 2017. That's where I saw that in Hopkinsville in Kentucky. And this one here in 2024 went right across the US down off the coast of Mexico. That's where I saw it. Okay, so how long do they last? Because you hear, 2 minutes 40 and 3 minutes this and that and 4 minutes. And you think, wow, what factors are going on here? And there's 2 main factors. They vary. The shortest eclipses are 7 seconds. You'd feel a bit cheated, wouldn't you? Hey, guy up there, do something, man. 7 seconds, it's not enough. Or the longest ones can go out possibly to 7.5 minutes, 7 minutes, 32 seconds. So that's the longest you can go out for. So that's quite a wide variation for duration. Why is that so? And there's 2 main factors, all due to Earth's rotation. Let's have a look at that. The observer's latitude on Earth, whether you're doing it low latitudes, like as the equatorial latitudes, or at higher latitudes, up more towards the poles. And the other one is the direction of path of totality. Let's have a look. So, first thing to know is that the Earth's rotation and the moon's movement across the Earth is west to east. That's important. The moon's shadow goes across the Earth from west to east at 3,400 kilometres per hour. I'm guessing that's about 25,000 miles per hour at a guess. So that's how fast it goes across. Meanwhile, of course, the Earth is rotating, that you are standing on, and if you're standing, say, at the equator equatorial latitudes, you're rotating about 1,700 kilometres per hour. So about half the speed of the moon. If you're at a latitude of, say, 45 degrees, so there's 90 at the poles, so say you're about here somewhere, about 45 degrees, you're rotating at a slower rate at about 1,400 kilometres per hour. You don't need to remember the exact things, but it's just the principle. Whereby, if you're travelling faster at the equator, you're going to be keeping up with that shadow of the moon for longer. you're never going to beat the shit off the moon. It's zipping right across the Earth at 3,400 kilometers per hour. But if you're already traveling along, there's a shadow moving there, and you're already traveling along at a reasonable pace, you're going to be keeping in line with that for a while before it outdoes you. You're going along really slow, and it's going to zip past you and outdo you a lot quicker, so your duration's going to be shorter. So that's one of the big important factors, your latitude. Where is it going? The other thing is let's just go through here, is the path of totality. So the Earth is rotating from west to east, so you're going through here. And if the path of totality is just going more sort of horizontally orientated like that, of course, you're going to rotate with the Earth. You're going to go through that narrow path a lot quickly, very, very quickly, because you're not keeping up with it. As opposed to if it's got more of a horizontal, if you will, orientation to it, you're going to be, as you're rotating around, you're going to be in that path that little bit longer. So that's a factor as well. The big factor is your latitude, though. What does one experience? The purpose of this slide is twofold. One is it's for everyone to enjoy. My wife and I, when we went to the 2027 one, we hired a car and we drove to Huntsville, Alabama, where we were meeting up with the team to look at it. And we got a taxi from the hotel to where we had to be, from dropping off the rental car to the hotel. And she says, why are you guys here? Off the solar eclipse. Oh, isn't it terrible? It's terrible. Oh, my kids came home from school with this, thing for me to sign to give them permission. I'm not signing that. It's terrible. It's evil. Oh, jeepers. You've missed, your kids are missing an opportunity for an experience and to learn something about celestial bodies and stuff. But anyway, it's for everyone to get out there and enjoy, including your pets. The other point of this slide is it's important to protect your eyes. When you look up at the sun normally, you look at the glare, it's just instantly. There's a reflex whereby the glare intensity is too bright and you instantly turn away. That reflex is occurring at visible wavelengths of light. It's the ultraviolet that does the damage. So if the main visible wavelengths of light has been blocked out or has been processed, and the process of being blocked out, dimming and dimming, you look up at the sun and you're not open to that natural reflex to blink and turn away because the glare, the intensity of the visible light's gone. But there is still a significant amount of ultraviolet light, high energy ultraviolet light that's coming through, and it's that damages your retina in the back of the eye. So when you're starting to look at a solar eclipse, once you've got totality, you can take your special glasses off, that's fine, but you've got to have certified glasses. They're not expensive. You've got to have certified glasses to block the ultraviolet light so you can just enjoy seeing the whole process starting to happen. So that's really, really crucial. Otherwise, you'll do permanent damage to your eyes. So what does one experience? There's different stages. First contact refers to when the moon, the leading edge of the moon, just first touches the sun in the sky and then continues to move across. So first contact to totality, on average, it's about 1.5 hours. You're starting to witness this change around you. And it's some pretty cool changes start occurring. Here's a cool one. You get all these images of the eclipse in progress on the ground underneath trees. And that's called the pinhole effect. Remember the pinhole effect in school? You get a little pinhole thing and you project an image of something onto a screen. And that occurs because the sun suddenly, instead of coming from something yay big and sort of shining brightly away, it's dimmer, but also as the moon's blocking it out, the source of light from the sun is narrow, getting smaller and smaller. So you're getting that pinhole effect. And often under the canopy of trees, you get these multiple images splayed out of the sun being blocked, of the partial eclipse. So that's quite cool just to see that on the footpath under trees and so on. The temperature drops significantly. This, I think this is 2017, I think this one was, dropped 6 degrees. That's Celsius. That's a big drop in temperature. Leading up to it was a hot day. You know, we actually ducked into the library and they're just under the air conditioning. You know, you're just in t-shirt and shorts. It was a hot day. When the eclipse started happening into totality, the temperature dropped 6 degrees. You went and put your jersey or a jacket on. You went back to the bus and, God, where's my jacket? Where's my jersey? You know, the temperature was dropping significantly. And that's quite eerie in its own way. Animals behave as if it's the end of the day and it's the onset of nightfall. So you see flocks of birds all heading off at the end of the day. Crickets will stop their chirping away, the noise that they make. They'll suddenly stop. You might get other insects that suddenly come to life, the night insects. You see cows have been known to start heading towards the milking machines. Oh, it's the end of the day. Better head off. Farmer Brown will be chasing me soon. So just before totality, so this is now just that last minute or so, some special things start happening. The first is what they call Bailey's beads. A guy, Bailey, in the 1800s first saw this and described them, whereby due to the very rugged terrain of the moon with high mountains and deep valleys and so on, the last little bit of light that's shining through, you see it all these patterns, and they look like beads, bright beads, strings of beads over the surface of the moon. And they call them Bailey's beads. And that's what's going on. It's just the light shining through the very last few deep valleys and mountaintops of the moon. Then, just literally in the last few seconds, the beads disappear, and the very last, deepest valley on the moon is still left with light shining through it. And they call it the diamond ring. And it really does look like it's bright. Everyone's screaming, oh my God, the diamond. You hear people screaming, Bailey's beads, Bailey's beads. And then someone yell, the diamond, the diamond. It's so cool. Everyone's excited. But you see a diamond in the last few seconds. The other one is, a 360 degree sunrise, sunset. Everything looks like dusk, and wherever you look, right across the horizon, right around, you get a dusk or a sunset. The stars and the planets come out, because the stars and the planets and so on are often still in the sky, but it's just the glare of the sun. You can't see them. You block the glare of the sun, suddenly all the stars that are in that constellation, or if there's any planets up there, suddenly they become visible. Day turns to night. As I mentioned, you can now take off your glasses. That's fine. It's safe. And you start seeing this, which I went over early on. You start seeing the atmosphere of the sun, which is also known as the corona, up to 2 times the diameter. And you get these little prominences, these crimson provinces of plasma, which is, spectacular to see, but of real interest to scientists. That's pretty much what we've talked about. Okay, so here's a video. This was recorded by a guy in 2017 in Oregon, and it just captures the mood, the emotions of being involved. There he is witnessing it with other people. So let's play this. I have to do this one manually, I think.
It's August 21st, 2017, the day of the total solar eclipse. I'm in Madras, Oregon. The skies are clear. This is my sky tracker. It's meant to move the camera with the sky, so it sort of compensates for the Earth's rotation. That should help me keep the sun in shot as the eclipse is taking place. We have first contact. This is C1. You can just see the moon entering on the top right side. We are 17 minutes out from totality, and I think the light is starting to change. I think it's getting noticeably dimmer. There's a bit of like a cold wind coming in from this side. Can you guys feel it? It's getting kind of cool. and it's getting darker. I'm really excited. Now that the sun is about 90% covered, I'm seeing much sharper shadows. Normally shadows, they're a little bit fuzzy because the light from the sun is coming from a whole bunch of locations, but now because it's coming from basically one little sliver of the sun, the shadows are all getting very, very sharp. Oh my God. Oh
so weird.
my God. Ah!
Guys, look around. Just try looking around.
This is insane right now. Oh, this is just unbelievable. What?
Oh my God!
What is happening? This is absolutely insane.
There's the beach.
I feel like it's hard to breathe. Oh my God. This is so totally creepy.
Oh my God, the sun!
Oh my goodness. This feels so weird.
Look at the sunrise, Derek! It's at every direction!
Oh my goodness. There's like sunset, sunrise, every direction. People are going nuts. This I did not expect. I don't know what I expected, but
Oh my God! Guys,
this
look
just
at the
looks
sun.
so wrong. You can see these prominences, the solar corona coming out at the top left and right and the bottom. I can see Venus directly above me.
You can see the stars.
Oh,
my
what is this? What? I just don't even know. We are inside totality. I am kind of speechless. It is just unreal right now. Isn't it? It's totally nuts. What?
Poke the hole in the sky. But it's so dark. 360 sunset.
Our excitement that the sun is back. I'm gonna pop the solar filter back on.
Isn't it cool? It just captured the emotion. You probably brings back some memories, those of you have seen it. And he just gets involved emotionally, does it? Great. It's absolutely great. This here is a view from space, of the shadow of the moon going across the Earth. You know, we just get used to seeing the moon go across and going in darkness. If you're in space, that's what you see. But except you'd see it racing across at 3,400 kilometers per hour. That's what's happening. You're in the shadow of the moon. So historically, yeah, there's a lot of background around total solar eclipses. From ancient times, they were considered sometimes bad omens from the gods and so on, particularly those who worship the sun. And a lot of cultures thought it was a terrible thing to be happening. So to help get rid of it, they would bash sticks and drums and pans and make a terrible noise for the darkness to go away. Hey, it worked. 2300 BC, this was in China, the emperor had, his local astronomer and stuff's got to predict all these things, and he failed to predict one of the solar eclipses, got beheaded. It cost him his head. Interesting, 585 BC, in a place that now is known as modern-day Turkey, the Medes and the Lydians were having a huge big battle. Thousands of soldiers on their horses, slaughtering one another. Things haven't changed, have they? And suddenly, unbeknown, an unexpected total solar eclipse occurred. It just went completely dark. They took that as a sign of disapproval from the gods. So they all instantly, thousands of soldiers, got off their horses, put down their swords, shook hands, and went home to their respective towns. I think this world could do with a few more total solar eclipses like now. Here's a really cool historic one. And this is astronomer Arthur Eddington. And he had the insight to realize here's something to prove if Einstein's theory, general theory of relativity, is a possibility that Einstein 4 years prior had postulated. And it was that Einstein says that how we experience gravity is because mass distorts or warps space-time around it. Therefore, a beam of light, say from a star, would just travel a straight line to us, but you put a mass in there, such as the sun, and the light path or beam gets bent around it. So what he did, they obviously knew where in the sky the total solar eclipse was going to be, and the glare of the sun would be taken out. So, a night or two, or whenever you like, beforehand at night time, take an image of the position of the stars where they are. Then during the total solar eclipse, when the sun is blocking it, but suddenly the paths of light, see if the star positions change. And they do. So here's the actual star field when the sun's somewhere else in the sky. During the total solar eclipse, the positions of the stars all changed, which proved it. And the idea here is that here is your actual location of a star. Without the sun, the light beam just went straight through like that. So we saw it there, and it came from there. Sun's in the way. Here's the star. The path of light goes like this. It gets bent because the sun's there, so the mass is distorting space-time. We see it here, and of course we project our image out here, and the star appears to be over here. And you can see it before the eclipse, during the eclipse. So, and it actually fitted Einstein's equations. He predicted that we didn't just say, the star positions will change. No, there was complex, detailed equations involved that Einstein presented. And it matched the calculations. So it was very historic. Another one, in 1973, they took the Concorde up for a total solar eclipse to, going at twice the speed of sound, Mach 2, to be going at a faster rate to keep up with the solar eclipse for a longer period of time in that shadow. They were in the solar eclipse for 74 minutes. How cool is that? Because they're at such high altitudes as well, they're above most of the water vapor in the atmosphere. And when you look at any astronomical object, including the sun, it's emitting light in all different wavelengths, including the infrared. But from Earth, you can't really see the infrared way down low because the water vapor absorbs it. But they were high up above most of the water vapor, so they're able to observe the sun as well in infrared wavelengths. So just for the more technically minded here, the key to the solar eclipses, it allows scientists to get a close look at that inner corona and see what's going on. And the evidence so far, what they've learnt from it, it appears to be little ripples of plasma. There's magnetic field lines really close to the surface of the sun. You always think of magnetic field lines looping up with those big prominences, but there's a series of magnetic field lines with little ripples called Alvin waves, named after a solar astronomer. They also, instead of solar flares, you're used to the idea of solar flares, flaring out and throwing material, which causes aurora and bursts of charged particles on Earth. There's also a lot of just nano flares, much smaller flares, just quietly going on the surface of the sun. They'd never be able to see these unless during a total solar eclipse, when you can get in there and have a decent look at the inner solar system, the inner corona of the sun. Now, you might say, well, why don't you just put a coronagram? A coronagram is where, and they do that for studying the sun, you essentially put a disk and blot out the glare from the sun. It's called a coronagram. But the problem with that is because you don't want glare coming down and disturbing your sensitive instruments either, is with ground-based big telescopes, still the light coming from the sun still gets a lot of distortion because of that. And there's a thing called diffraction. That's a property of light, the wavelength of light. It tends to bend around corners and so on, particularly at the edges of telescopes. And in space, your spacecraft's wobbling all over the place. So both those scenarios, you've got to have a reasonably wide coronogram to block out the glare and protect your instruments and so on. But because of that, the size of the coronogram blocks out the inner corona, so you can't see it. And it's because of a total solar eclipse just happens to be so precise, that moon, and it's so far away, you don't have to worry about diffraction, you don't have to worry about anything wobbling or anything like that. It just happens to be perfect for astronomers to get a nice, unobstructed view of that really close inner corona of the sun. Why is it important? It's space weather, to try and understand how the sun works better, trying to predict, if you can start getting see a pattern, think, we now can predict when you're going to get some solar flares. That's important. Society relies a lot on electronics and that these days, and electronics get upset by streams of charged particles and bursts of charged particles from the sun. So, for example, if they know that there's going to be high activity of solar flares, a lot of planes won't travel, or they'll alter their flight path. Satellites are sensitive to it, so they'll often just put satellites in safe mode. Power supply and communication networks, if you think that's not important, there was a massive geomagnetic storm in 1989, which they didn't quite predict properly, and it gave Quebec, the province of Quebec in Canada, and a complete 24 hours of a complete blackout because they weren't able to predict a major solar flare. So it makes sense, we've just got to try and learn more about the sun. And of course, astronauts in the International Space Station, they would like to know, thank you very much, if there's a solar flare going their way, so they can put their vests on or go to their safe quarters and shut down sensitive instruments. So it is very important. So why should these experiences be on your bucket list? They're very rare. It's only about every 18 months that you get one. Anywhere on Earth, it's only 375 years. They're very brief, last from 7 seconds to 7.5 minutes. The one in Egypt's going to be 7.5 minutes. We'll talk about that shortly. But most of them, just 2 to 4 minutes, most of them. So they're very brief. They're very unique. Often each one is different, but they're very unique. It's just those who experienced it. It is surreal. There's only one word. It is surreal. And they are of scientific significance. Get that nice view of the inner corona right on the surface of the sun. What's going on to predict the future, for future use of predicting solar flares and solar activity. Now, there's the next ones. Go home when you're off the trip. Pack your bags for your next trip. Spain this year, it's going to be a short one, 2 minutes 18. Luxor, that's next August. That's going to be 6:22 minutes. So that's going to be a nice long one. It'll be pretty hot in Egypt, I'm sure, in August. And then Dunedin and New South Wales, Australia, Dunedin, New Zealand and New South Wales, Australia, July 2028. It's going to be a 5-minute one, so that's going to be exciting. If you're going to come down south, down under for that, I suggest you go to New South Wales because it's going to be Dunedin. Dunedin, midwinter, it's going to be 4 p.m. Your time is more productive in the pub. At Dunedin at 4 p.m. midwinter. It's going to be cloudy, it's going to be wet. Join the students with a pint of beer. If you really want to see the eclipse, head to New South Wales. The weather's going to be a lot better. You can go inland. It's going to be 2 p.m. as well, so you've got your best chance of seeing that. But most of all, have fun. So, enjoy the sun, guys, safely. Thank you very much. You're probably aware of this, the planets are in line tonight. I think it's going to be a bit cloudy, and Saturn and Venus are close to the sun, to the horizon. But there will be an announcement this afternoon, so we'll probably informally possibly go up to the upper deck on the 10th floor at 8 o'clock just to have a look and see if there's anything there. We'll play that one by ear, but I think they'll make an announcement, just FYI. And we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to go through a journey through the solar system tomorrow, so we'll see you then.